Israel's high-tech sector got a serious boost from the government in the 90s with about a $100 million investment in 10 VCs. Currently, with everything that's going on in Israel in terms of social justice, we might be ready to see investment in a different type of fund. And with us today, we have Mr. Allan Barkat from Dualis, a social investment fund. Mr. Barkat, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So what exactly is Dualis? What do you focus on here, and what is the government's part of this?
Dualis is a non-for-profit organization that is a real investment activity into for-profit businesses that focus on training and employing people with disabilities, people on the margins of society. And we're basically taking the venture capital model, and instead of backing tech entrepreneurs, we're backing social entrepreneurs, part of the social justice movements, in developing new entrepreneurial ways of doing social good that are not the traditional philanthropy and government-backed.
Now, the government has basically set aside 20 million shekels, which is about $5 million, for a fund to help boost this initiative. Is it enough?
Well, we're at a very, very embryonic stage of the social investment world. And social businesses are starting to crop up around Israel. There's even one in this building downstairs called the Women's Courtyard in the port that works with a young woman at risk. And these businesses across Israel, there's probably several hundred today. In Europe, there's also a group. In the United States, but it's a young industry. It's not like the tech industry when it came into Israel was very, very established in other parts of the world.
Of course. How do we compare to the rest of the world, actually, on that topic?
I think we're in a very, very good state. There's obviously the UK and Italy and Germany are more advanced in the area of social activity, social entrepreneurship. In the United States, it's a growing area. I would say that Israel's in a very good place.
Okay. And what kind of people are you working with? I mean, you mentioned people are handicapped or are basically in situations where they can't get to work as easily, can't be employed as easily. Are we also talking about people underemployed or people in certain sectors of society where they don't have access necessarily as easily to education or to work opportunities?
We're focusing on setting up social businesses that are corporations that we own, and all the profits go back into doing good. We're saying is doing good is doing well, yeah. Or the other way around. And we're basically investing into small businesses that a quarter to half of the employees from what we call people on the margin society. So, for instance, we're involved in a restaurant here called Liliot, one of 5 restaurants that we've backed. That these restaurants have got a social worker in them. Yeah. 10 to 15 youth that have dropped out of high school at the age of 16. A third of them already have a criminal record. And they go through a 12 to 18-month program of basically rehabilitation and vocational training to be kitchen staff, cooks, young chefs. And those programs, which today we've been running for about 10 years in Israel, are starting to show a very, very high rate of success, of the outcome being that 5 years after they've completed the 1-year program, about 90% of the graduates in these programs are back into a normal part of society, which is a very, very high rate.
Absolutely. Now, what is the potential for this? I mean, are we looking essentially at a relatively low, small amount of companies, or can we see really realistically this expanding to the point where we see thousands of people going into these jobs?
Well, let's look at this from 2 ways.
Yeah.
In a macro way, I believe that social businesses are the answer to a middle ground between what's called the greedy capitalism and the socialism which is bankrupt. And so it's a middle ground, because all of our businesses are targeted to make half as much profit as a regular business without the social activity. So we basically, from our profits ongoing, take care of the extra social costs. So usually we have about 1.5 times the number of employees because it's on-the-job training. Now that's from the top down. Now if we look from the bottom up, let's say we now have 5 areas that we're active in. Restaurants and cafes, yeah. Retail stores, software testing. We've got a manicure business for single mothers on welfare that they're learning a business they can then go home and set up. And we just opened a social catering business. And if you let's just take the retail and restaurants. If you had one of those in every city across Israel, I don't know, would you have 200 of them, let's say?
Right.
And each one takes care of, say, 10 to 15 individuals every year. So that's 2,000 to 3,000. Over 10 years, we're talking about thousands and tens of thousands of people that we're taking from one side of the equation to the other. From the side where they're being supported by the country and the economy to being contributing to the country.
Right.
Now,
Right.
what people don't realize, and that's probably the most important impact of social businesses, is the fact it's like a ripple effect, because it's just like you throw a little rock into a pond. So the first ripple is the participants in the program. We help them learn a profession and their personal development, actually learn what it means to go to work,
Right.
which is not a trivial issue. Plus, they make a salary. All of our employees are paid full salaries and benefits, just like any other employee.
Right.
The second is their families. The third is the other employees in the business, because about half of the employees are regular employees. It's an on-the-job training apprenticeship program.
Yeah.
Those people are they don't usually meet with dropout youth that have been in prison. They don't meet with young mothers that have been abandoned.
It really has an effect beyond just the people who are directly
Exactly.
involved. Well, Mr. Allan Barkat, thank you so very much for joining us from Dualis. I hope to have you on the show again and to hear more about the success in this regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.